Welcome to the Freestylers Universe podcast. I have an incredible episode for you. My goodness, this is my dear friend Jon Hodge, aka Joda. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh man, it's great to be here today. I love talking with you, and I love talking about spirit and consciousness. Has a really high relevance in what's going on now today, and it always has. It's just humanity's kind of been focusing in some darker places for a while, so we're moving back more into the light. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here and glad to share anything I know with you.
Thank you. So a little context, listener. Basically, I've known Jon for about 2.5 years now, and he's been practicing energy work of various sorts for over 30 years. And it started out as martial arts and then progressing through into more like Qigong and Tai Chi. And so it was working with, at first it was overt, like here's the raw energy, physicality, working with the physical structure and the vessel. And then it evolved into more of the subtleties, more of the soft energetics. And then from there, would you like to give everybody a little perspective of how things have evolved for you over the last couple decades?
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Saying it was really solid in the beginning, with the martial arts and those types of concepts of energy work. Delivering energy through punches, delivering energy in our movement, and in very material form. And over the years of teaching, I became more and more spiritual as I moved through my path in martial arts. And I've always been a spiritual instructor. I mean, there's different levels of martial arts. There's full contact, combat, and we did some of that also. But we were always reflecting on the balance and harmony within your, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and how to bring all these concepts together that you can really, it's about becoming a balanced human being that creates real power in your life. And, over the years of doing that, I got into more and more energy work with things like Tai Chi and Qigong. And I really started to begin to notice with meditation and all these different practices, I was beginning to feel energy in my life in a big way. I would do these practices and I would have this energy run through me. And, people are really not starting to realize now that how you feel the difference in like upliftment, like when you do a meditation, you're uplifted in consciousness some, and you feel lighter, you feel more bubbly and pervasive. And I was feeling those things with this energy, and it really, first in meditation and the Qigong and things. And that spurred along with other practices. I was doing a lot of meditation and connecting a lot with other energies in different ways.
When you say other, what are you referring to?
People would say spirit guides or ascended masters, even archangel type energies. I see all these entities, or whatever you want to call them. All these beings are other souls, other entities like we are, and we're just connecting with something that is at a different frequency or a different level. We call them a different density. There's lots of different words for these places that we can't see right now, in our wake state. But
Right.
but it's about getting in touch with this energy and sensing and feeling it and being open to it. If I had one thing to say that probably marks me as different than a lot of people, is my openness. My openness to look at something and to check it out and see what it's about and experience it. My journey's been very experiential. and,
Right.
and that I will look at all these different things. And if it was good for me, if it made a good change in my life, then I would take it and pursue it, and get a deeper understanding in what that feels like, and really the textures of it. I mean, we have these
Mm.
different textures of feeling, of sensing, of knowing. I would experiment with all these things, with all these sensations. And
Mm.
within all of this was really cleaning myself up. Instead of I quit drinking. I quit. There's a lot of things I quit. I quit lusting. I quit drinking. I quit all those things over a period of
Mm.
time. I mean, it just didn't happen, like you snap your fingers and it's gone. But I started working on letting these things go. And as I would do that, it actually enhanced these feelings and that I was getting, that I had coming in, were becoming stronger. And I was getting more clarity in like these. I was really open to working with like I was doing hand written communications, automatic writing, what some people call it. Doing a lot of automatic writing and sensing and feeling that energy, and actually hearing them say things to me at times, and working on that, and just staying open to it and pursuing it. So I've been very open. I've been very focused and committed. So when I find something that's working, I don't just, I'm on it.
Yeah,
And
you double click on it quick.
I just stay on it, and work on it. So the main things is continuing to work on what it feels like. What's it doing for me? Does it have a real, is it something that's really being good for me? Is it really helping me? Is it helping me to create a better understanding of myself and the world around me? And when I
Right.
continue to look at the world in that way and be very open, that's how I got into all these different forms of energy work and meditation. I mean, I've done all four. I've done so many different types of spiritual technology or spiritual endeavors, Reiki healing, um, I don't know, massage therapy, reflexology. I mean, you list it. I could list you know, go down a list of lots of different things that I had this openness to, and I tried them. I went through and I tried
Yeah.
all these different things out. And some of them, my guides would say, you need to be doing this. Why don't you look at this, or you look at that? And I'd go, huh? It didn't make sense to me in the moment, but I thought I was open enough to go, yeah, I'll do this. So,
And so a framing that might be helpful for our listener, if they've not had that exact experience in their life or something very similar, is just a gut feeling, an intuition, a hunch, right? Like, oh, I just feel like I should turn right here,
yeah. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. That's another part of that openness. In my sensing,
Bingo.
and me personally, in my sensing, in my feeling, or my gut feeling, I look. I don't ignore. I don't ignore that, and I look into it and I investigate it a little bit more closely. And other people seem to be so busy, busy with
Mm.
just life. I got to
Right.
make a living. I got to do this. That they stay so centrally focused on that they ignore they ignore spirit signal, or spirit kind of trying to lead them down another path. They don't want to get off of that, what they, this work thing or whatever they have going. And it's often in these little paths that we go into that there's a true enlightenment that will flash
Mm.
at us, even if it's just in a fleeting moment. Usually, when you see it, spirit goes, thanks. Well, we got his attention, and then send something else. And we have these things that happen over and over, and have
Right.
these flashings. So through my, through my journey, it's been like that all along. And the things that have worked for me and have worked for others that I'm serving, I keep them and I keep using. Now, what's really interesting about this is this has changed continuously.
Even
You
in
know,
the 2.5 years that we've known each other, what we've done as far as our meditation practices, you have some incredibly potent things that I've shared with many of my friends, right? The proclamation being one, this activation sequence around
yeah.
sovereignty. Oh my goodness.
And that's all part of the story. You go through this 30 years, and even like the proclamation, the first part of that I got was I am that I am.
Mm,
And I would say I am that I am over and over. And my guides were telling me, you are what you say you are. You are who you are being. So if you say you're this over and over, this is what you become.
yes.
So, I'm like, I am that I am. And further than that, I mean, everybody's using affirmations. I mean, I was using, I am love.
Can
I,
you can you break down I am that I am to somebody that's not heard this before?
I am is the English, okay, statement of that I am all that I am. I'm the source of my being. That I am the I is the source. And if I say I am that source. So I am that I am. I'm saying I am the source of my being. I am all pieces, all parts of me.
And would you
So it,
define that me as in your physical vessel? Is this a spiritual structure? Is this all that is?
all that is within you, within the perception. It's within. I say me. When I say me, I'm indicating this entity, this essence, this thing you're looking at. That's me. This is the me. Okay, and the I is the all knowledge, the all beingness that is actually the creator of all of me, of the me, and everything else that exists. So
Yes.
it
I like
can
to think
be
about it as, yeah,
yeah,
as the first eye, right? Instead of the third eye, call it the first eye. And if we think about it that way, if the pineal gland, if that's physically the structure that connects us to all this multidimensional energetic realities, then that first eye vision is actually the big eye. It's the capital I. And so then it
it's the
comes
capital
through
I.
when I have my lowercase I, right? Which is my physical, this is Tyler, here I am, right? I have these senses. And, to think that we only have five senses, I mean, I just love the analogy of sound or light. Look at the visible light spectrum relative to it's infinite. Yet we just have this micro perspective of it. And it's very easy to be caught in that illusion and think that that's all that there is.
Yeah, the me tends to just be me. But when you bring in the I, your perception increases. It increases to more. Humans have been locked in the five senses. That's where we've been. We've been locked in the five senses, and we've been told that there's nothing else, except
Ha!
except this, and that you have to look somewhere else to find anything that is outside of the five senses or any information really. We've been,
Mm,
we've been boxed into thinking you're this or you're that. You're this religion, you're that religion, you're black, you're white, you're what, blah 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 blah. And the real truth is when you start to move into the I ness, the essence of all that you are, and you start dropping these connections here and looking into the energy, feeling the energy, sensing it, it opens up more of the knowledge, more of the understanding that you have within all that you are. You start tapping into that universal mind.
Yes.
I mean, it's like knowing. I mean, sometimes I just connect in and I just know. You know, it's not a part of this brain mechanism. It's beyond that. You know,
Well,
much bigger.
a great analogy is the internet. Excuse me. The internet. I mean, imagine all that information exists out there. But if I don't have a connection, right, to the internet, then I can't access that information. And then there's a whole nother element here, which is not just a connection, but actually having bandwidth. So the higher bandwidth that I have, the more data can come through. And all of a sudden we have 4K HDR, 3D, virtual reality, right? But a dial-up modem is just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's dating myself. I definitely had dial-up modems.
Yeah, I did too.
And it could
So
send just little tiny packets of information. And so it's almost as if the packets of information being sent go to our intuitive senses. For me, it's a gut, like I'm a sacral response center. So when I get a gut feeling or a gut intuition, you know, I can't think of a single time it's been inaccurate. It's always right. And yet
yeah,
my mind wants to
yeah.
physically, you know, double check. Celebrate. My mind doesn't actually want to trust that that's true. And so second guess, that's the word I was looking for. And what is a second guess? Inaccurate. We know this with test taking. We know this with life in general, period. So Joda, one of the things that I admire so much about you is that you've tuned in your subtle energy understanding to pick up on very subtle nuance, right? And then also through time with the meditation practice, which is to become familiar with, increased the bandwidth, the pipeline that's available. And so now we've got all sorts of interesting stuff that's been happening in the last 6 months or so. Would you like to share with our listener about some of these incredible multidimensional aspects of self that are showing up?
Yeah, that's you know, through the whole thing, all of this is led up to this, and it will lead somewhere else. I know that too, but everything that we've done is, and in fact, this is all humanity. This is for all humanity. It's not just for me. You know, it's I have moved from really having to work at like you were saying, connecting, sensing, feeling, and all those things. And now I am. It's just I have this ability to connect in and speak with other parts of the universe. And this is something it's really shifted into a way that is different in the past 4 or 6 months. Before I've been able to connect with someone's energy, let's say your energy or somebody else's, and connect in with who they are, their spirit guides, the influence in their energy, and pick up information that's that person needs or to help change or do whatever they're working on. And that's a perceptive thing, like you're saying. I'm perceiving their energy and I'm perceiving what's happening around them and what's attached to them. Okay, so this next step, it's different. It's been way different. I, about 4 months ago, I started having, well, if you want to call them ETs or off-world or galactic connections, otherworldly connections, of whatever you want to say, and started having these entities approaching me. And I've had this on and off over the years to a little bit of an extent. And I would always go, no, no, I'm not. It's not time for me to do something like that. I'm still working on me quite a bit. But here
Aren't we all?
recently, yeah, but here recently, it's like they're in my face, and they're wanting. They have a message now, and they're saying, look, we need to work with you. We need this connection. So this is what they're doing in the beginning, and this is not even the ones that I'm communicating with now. This is
So, and then just to give a little framing on this too, if I were to casually look through a room and say, okay, look for the color red, right? You have 1 second. Like, okay, how much red did I actually see? And so that's kind of like a regular living state of being. And what I hear you describing is, okay, now I've found the red. I'm going to focus on the red. And so as I'm focusing on it, the aperture opens up and I'm able to pick up all this nuance, all of this information, all of this detail. So at first it was just, what is it intuitively that this person might need, right? Which again stems
it,
all the way back to your teaching of martial arts and working with people on an energetic
yeah,
level, right? And now moving forward into subtle energy, just period, in a diffused connection state,
yeah,
being able to connect to multiple people simultaneously, to then now locking in with one at a time, and then having so much more information show up, other energies, other entities, subtleties
yeah,
that are around them in their field. And then now it sounds like the next extension is to be able to dial in to any particular entity or energy period consciously, to just choose, I'm going to call in this entity.
yeah. It's telepathic. It's telepathic communication, and everybody can do this. Now, what the difference is I'm able to hold presence, and I'm able to go into a state of oneness. And this comes from many years of letting go, of all the anger, the attachments, the bonds, as we want to call them, to all the things that are around me. I don't have anything in. I don't have the chattering in my head. You've heard me talk about that before. I don't have a mind that's going, creating all these narratives.
Yeah, it's like the barking dogs have
Yeah, the
chilled out,
barking dog is not there anymore.
which,
So
hey, that can happen for you as well.
yeah,
Whoever it is that is listening at the moment, with focus and time and patience, one can become the observer of our thoughts and realize what is the thoughts of the small I, the small mind, and what are actually thoughts of the highest mind, the largest mind, the internet of all.
yeah. I found out when I shut all that off, and I'm able to go into a state of presence. That's a game changer, and also using the ability of this. It's like an extra. It is an extra sensory perception that comes on when I go into a state of presence that I start picking up. Um, so like I'm doing a guide work, I focus in on the person. I go into presence and I focus in on the person that I'm working with, and I'm solely focused, and I'm drawing their energy to me, and I'm actually pulling their energy in, and then I start perceiving their network. You want to talk about the internet? I dialed into their IP address,
Yes.
and I'm getting their information. So this was a precursor to learning that I could dial in to an off-worlder or another presence. Um, so the first time that really caught my attention to it was when we were outside the restaurant and somebody asked about Bashar,
Yep.
and I'm like,
Yep. And
okay,
just
well,
to give context, youtransformed.com. We've done let's see, you and Michael have put on now, what, 13 or 14 retreats in the last 2.5 years. And I participated and done a little bit of co-facilitation on, what, 8 or 9 at this point. And so there's another one coming up. And it's called Galactic Oneness. And it's December 9th and 10th. utransform.com. You can find out more information there. So that's a precursor, because after this one retreat that we had, we were out having some Thai food, actually. And the question about Bashar, who's another channel, just like Abraham Hicks, right? These are other entities that are being channeled through a human. And I actually asked you, I said, well, what do you think about Bashar? Because he was coming to Sedona. And you said, well, I'll just go talk to him right now.
Yeah. And, one of the things is I knew I could do it. That's another component of this is faith. Faith, presence, faith, knowing. So contacting Ian, I was briefly able to get a connection with him, and he was kind of like, "Oh, who are you? What are you doing what do you want?" And but did accept. He looked into my energy and did accept communication with me, because I'm, in his words now, he didn't say it then, but in his words now, I'm a pure channel. And he immediately saw that and was interested. Then he said he was interested in working with me because of my purity, or in my ability.
Which is amazing, because one of the first retreats that we had was called Purity. And that was a thesis that you've been, sharing with us so much within the community. It's just how vitally important it is to have energetic, spiritual purity, right? And what does that actually mean to you?
Purity is the letting go of the lower frequencies of being, like anger, lust, severe attachment to money, to different material items. I've learned to be objective, so I'm abundant. My statement is I'm abundant in all ways. All that I need comes to me in a perfect way, and it does. I'm extremely abundant, and I haven't hit a lick in physically in the material world. I haven't worked that way in many, many years, and the money just keeps rolling in. But it's to me, everything is objective. The material world is an objective place of learning and knowing for me. So as things happen, I don't attach myself to what's happening. I do what I can, and I share what I can, and I uplift as much as I can. But these other things that are going on are going on, and I know what my mission is, and I'm pressing forward in it.
100%. And then just to give a quick frame around that is, do you still enjoy, like, for example, this sweater that you're wearing, do you still enjoy these tangible physical things and like the 3D landscape, hopping on your motorcycle, for example,
I do.
How is that?
I do, but I can say that if that went away, I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay, and I would be all right with. If that went away, I would be okay. Well, the universe is fixing to send me something better.
That's deep faith really, right there.
So at every point in my life where I see that something has happened to me that hurt in some way that I thought it hurt me and that I was suffering from it, that actually around the corner it became much better. So what good is all of this? This is something that I really want to start working on answering with these galactics, because they're here to do this. They're here to answer these questions, and they're here to give it in their perspective. And what good is it to elevate yourself in consciousness? I mean, really, what good is it? What good does it do me to be, to purify myself? What are the things in my
Right.
life?
It totally depends on the person, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm a way shower, and you're a way shower, and everybody can do this. The way that I can demonstrate that is by my life, by talking about what has happened in my life and where I've been and where I am now. And from my perspective, this journey has brought me to so much joy and so much happiness and so much abundance and so much of everything in my life. And I
don't forget youth. You're going backwards in aging.
Yeah,
every time that I see you. You look more radiant. You look more youthful. You have more energy, more smiles, more laughter. Yeah. That's amazing.
I am happier. Everything seemed really challenging back in the day when I was going through all this, and now it's not challenging anymore. I mean, it's just who I am. So if you want to know why it's important to do this spiritual pursuit and this higher consciousness game, if you want your life to be a certain way, like happy and abundant and peaceful, and I think everybody's searching for that, move up into higher consciousness, folks. And you will love and laugh. There's so many things that I could tell you that are improved in my life. My sex life is improved.
Hey,
if you want to talk about that, I mean, and people are interested in that, right? That's a part of who we are.
To whatever degree that you're willing to share.
It's a part of who you are. But now my sexual life is spiritual as well as the other. So for me, it's a sharing of immense love. The whole act is an act of unconditional love and service within it. And it's just a whole nother level of of being and experience and moving through your sexuality that way.
Wait, you're telling me that the point is not to just go after your own self-interest?
Correct. Yeah, it's all about the service, the love that you have within you, and the service that you're providing with this love. I mean, it's a love experience, not a lust experience. And it's like
love
a Kundalini
experience, not lust.
It's a Kundalini experience every time. So it's just a different level of this. But so
I think that probably perked the ears of some people listening.
Well, everything, like I was saying, everything in my life has shifted through it in moving into higher consciousness. And we really want to work on this in a way that we break this down into a way people can relate with it. And it does bring more joy. It does bring more happiness. And it is a journey. So in the beginning, wading through a lot of this stuff that's so heavy and has been such, maybe looked like a pain and a suffering to us, as we move through it and we let go of those things, we increase our joy and our happiness all the way through this. So that's really been how I've felt about it. And the Galactics want to bring this same message, that this is an experience of bringing yourself to a higher degree of love, bringing yourself to a higher degree of connection, where we all sense and feel each other's energies as we speak. I mean, have you ever walked up to somebody and you try to connect with them, and it's like connecting with a piece of dirt, or which has consciousness, by the way. But I think everybody can understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Some people are so closed off to anything outside of their own physical self, or in that it would require being closed off to ourselves as well. If my only focus is my own five senses, right? And my internal emotional landscape, and I don't care at all about anybody else, then I'm not just closed to everything else that's out there. I'm actually closed to so much of what's happening inside of me.
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the practices that I encourage, is when you speak to somebody, or you really look them in the eye and you really connect with them, and you really pull that energy in and get a really good understanding of what they're asking and what they're talking about. And it makes a huge difference. They feel like they're loved when you show that kind of interest in somebody.
Well, that is love.
Yeah, it is love. It is to be interested. And these galactics that I'm talking to, they're at a very, very high state of consciousness. And they do all of this in service. They're here to serve. The ones that I'm connected with are off the chart loving. They're very logical. Their communication is very straightforward, and it has a logical path to it as you hear them. The things that they say can be kind of hard to wrap your head around at first, because of this logic they have. We're not used to hearing somebody who has, I don't know, these entities may have an IQ of 600 or 800. I don't know how
Right.
high. They're dumbing them. They're dumbing the communication way down to come through me.
Maybe
with
not
it
dumbing
anyway.
down, they're simplifying,
Yeah, they're simplifying
specifying.
it. But and what I'm saying is, they're, when we look at what they say, it when I hear when they're saying what they're saying, it's beautiful. It's logical. It's beautiful, and it's usually spot on for whatever they're talking about, or whatever questions being asked. I mean, they're right on. They're always on point, and just have such a beautiful way of saying it, you know.
Yeah,
But, but
absolutely. Can you describe to somebody that's familiar with Abraham Hicks, right, which is a channel through Esther Hicks, or Bashar, who's channeled through Daryl Anka? Because when they lock in, they go into a trance state, like Jane
right,
Roberts did channeling Seth. And so they're locking in to whatever that frequency is, and then it bypasses their small eye, right? And
right.
so oftentimes they don't have a memory or a recollection of what's actually happening, versus what you're doing is telepathic linking while
Right.
holding your sovereignty.
Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm calling this entity up to merge with my energy to an extent. It's not a full merger, but it's like if you took these two energies, and what normally happens is they're like at one frequency, and I'm over here at this other frequency. And when I call them, I can feel this in my body, and I'm actually lifting myself or lowering myself or wherever I'm going. And then there's a linking up process where the energies merge together. And as the energies merge together, we begin our dialogue back and forth. Now, what happens is there's a process, since I'm doing this fully awake, like we are now. I'm in this communication fully awake, merged with their consciousness. And with this transfer of information, it's coming from them, And my essence, my higher self, and my mind is interpreting what's coming in a way that I can understand it. And this is a little different than some of the channels. Channels get completely out of the way. Their mind is out of the way, and the energy of the other entity just takes over the body and goes through them.
Doesn't that sound like it's more pure to let the small mind go to the side and let that full bandwidth flow through?
They may be more pure in some of their ability to, in some of their information, because I do have a situation where we're in the process. I'm in the process of working with them in becoming better and better with this, because it does hinge on my knowledge and my information within me to link up with some information that they have.
Right. They can give the seed, but to translate that into English and have it land with whoever's asking the question.
Yeah, so there's a translation process that's going on within me, and this is a telepathic thing. The other thing with telepathics is they do show me images. I do see images, and I do hear them at times to an extent. And it depends on who the entity is. Some of them I'm really fluent with, like Yeshua, because I've been communicating with him for 20 plus years. But these newer guys on the block, I'm having to work with that connection, and I'm getting better. The information is coming through better. It's coming through smoother. But this is the new way. I mean, this is an art that we all knew at one time, and
100.
Yeah, and we're remembering. I'm remembering. It takes
remembering. We're just
we're
remembering again.
This, yeah, and we're bringing this back together. And now, and I'm not the only one doing this. There's other people doing this right now. This same activity, where we're fully conscious, we're fully awake, we're connecting, and we're bringing our full telepathic capabilities back online in communicating.
So one thing I'm noticing here as you're describing it is, instead of locking in with one entity and going incredibly deep and being in, full coherence with that entity, it's almost like you're sitting at a round table. It's like you're at a board council and you're inviting these different entities because you're holding your sovereignty in that process. So you're showing up as Joda, as Jon Hodge, right? They're showing up as their full selves and allowing that bridging. And so at first it could seem like there might be less depth or connection, right? But it's almost like you're a multi-instrumentalist and you're playing different chords.
Here's the importance of this. Okay, right now they're speaking to us and they're working with us on telepathics. Now there are millions and millions and millions of other civilizations throughout creation.
Did you hear that, listener?
Okay, there's
millions and millions and millions of other civilizations.
Of them, okay? Now, they're not all going to be on our doorstep immediately, but as our consciousness moves up and we become a galactic civilization, and it's going to happen, it's coming, we're going to have more and more of these beings that are going to be present and are going to be here, and we need to be able to communicate with them sovereignly. And this sovereignty is extremely important, because we need to stay in command of who we are and not ever let another entity or being have control of us like we've had over the last 2,000 years or more even.
Yes, sir.
So the Galactics
100.
Yeah, the Galactics are here to create this understanding and help us get back to it. All that I am is bringing together an organization that everyone can come into and start doing this and working with us in working with these telepathic connections. In the beginning, right now, it's confusing because people hear me doing these connections, and it's something that you're not used to. It's not. It's seems foreign to
Well, let's
you.
make it relatable. I mean, if somebody has a religious perspective or philosophy and they're connecting with Jesus or Yeshua, right? Muhammad,
Yeah,
Buddha, Krishna, whatever entity it is, it's just that they have a focus on that particular energy or essence, and then a belief system that supports that that might be the only path towards that highest degree of consciousness. And by opening that field and realizing, oh, we all are actually one aspect of the divine. And so if these people that physically walked on this planet were able to be pure channels, were able to come through with that coherence, that's why people would have spontaneous healing in the presence of these people, because it's coherent
yeah.
energetics, right? They're not like a healer. The
They're
healing is
balanced.
literally by getting out of the way. Exactly. Being
Yeah,
in balance.
they're balanced. Their energy is so powerful. It's boy, you've been in one of the in some of that experience. I mean, their energy comes through, and it's balanced. It's in balance and harmony, and it's powerful. Um, and it's a unique experience that until you've had it, it's almost unexplainable. You know, just the
Well, and
love
I
and
wonder if it feels like everybody has experienced this to varying degrees, right? Just like how emotionally, whatever my peak and whatever my valley is the full experience for my emotional life, right? So the highest high and the lowest low. It's not comparative, it's all relative. And so each of us have had these experiences. I mean, if I say, oh, I had an angel was guiding me, or I had this intuitive whisper, I had this understanding, or I just felt so much love and so much gratitude. You know, I had
yep,
to go up and hug this person. We've all had these experiences. All this is just drilling in deeper and deeper and deeper, more consistently, and loving and locking in on those frequencies, right? And now
yeah,
you're seeing
that's
all the characters
that's
behind the
it.
cast.
Yeah, the cast and the characters are coming in. You know, as we raise our consciousness, and you know, if you raise your consciousness, there's a whole nother world out there, or a whole nother galaxy. You know, and this galaxy is coming in now. They're the ones that are here. You know, there are some of them that are haven't invested. The entities that I'm speaking with, or the ones that I'm speaking with, have an investment in this. They've been here and they've been working here. Uh,
Can you speak to
and
that?
they've been working with human consciousness for ever since we came in. I mean, some of them have worked with working with our DNA and different things, consciousness modifying, helping us. They're helping us to uplift the ones that I'm speaking of now, or that I speak to right now. And they were you'll see their images. And the Syrians the Syrian souls I'm working with, you'll see some of their images in Egypt. Some of them are human looking. So some of them are ascended beings, but they've went through consciousness and are extremely loving, very powerful beings. But they're humanoid. All the ones that I'm speaking with are humanoid, human form. Um, but their message is unconditional love and service to the all, and they live by cosmic law.
Ooh, they live by cosmic law. Can you speak to that?
Law, the fundamental cosmic laws, free will is very very important. They uphold free will. Uh, you know, in working with anybody or having an experience with another entity, they're always observing free will of others. They understand the law of vibration, the law of manifestation. You know how vibratory frequencies either, you know, they're coherent with each other or they're disharmonic. Is a way to put it. They understand what's going on with the frequency of things. It's very fundamental concepts of reality. You know, the law
The
of,
way that you just depicted the law of vibration, what was coming up for me is that energy never lies. Energy is pure and it's objective. It is
it is. It's
specifically that.
very, yeah. It's very objective in its nature. It's very literal. A type of energy is very literal. We try to, you know, curve things around and morph them into something other than what they are.
Well, that's language. I mean, look at
Yeah,
how many
that's
words
language.
we're utilizing right now to connect and convey an idea or a concept as best and as accurately as I can, as you can.
Yeah, and in their language is not that way. I mean, it's much fuller. Light language is creator language, and they use
Mm.
creator language, and we used a very dumbed down form of that language. Probably the most dumbed down there is on the planet right now.
Could you give a
It
little
takes a lot.
context with light language? If there's 500-ish thousand words in English, how would you? What's your estimation with light language?
Well, light language has a lot more energy within it. It's like a story almost. As you say something, it's more like a story that has a whole lot more information within it that is vibrationally corrected by the thought that's along with it.
Mm.
So there can be a word that can have various meanings, but it can carry the energy and the information to a much greater extent than, let's say, like an English word or a human word that we use on the planet right now. Sumerian and some of the older languages are much more or closely related. Um, it would be shown in the hieroglyphs or the writing that you see the Egyptians and some of the other civilizations that we've had. See, they have a picture or a pictorial representation of something, which is in a way a representation of a light language or substance of it. And we're like much smaller segments of that.
Well, I mean, the
To,
classic
to
phrase, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
yeah, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So, like, do you see what I'm saying? It has more. It's way more content in it. It's and it has the ability through coding to carry your thoughts and a vibration and everything with it, along with it.
I feel like music is a lot higher
Music
bandwidth.
is way higher representation of that, like the whales. A whale song.
Mm.
A whale song is extremely higher level. It's so much more intelligent than us that it's there's no comparison.
Are you able to interpret whales or dolphins?
I haven't ever tried whale or dolphin communication. That maybe I'll add that to my list.
That would
like
be
I'm
awesome. We could do a
like
You
I'm open
Transformed
to
retreat in Hawaii.
I'm real open to that. So um, the experience right now has been very focused on the galactics, and I'm going to work very diligently to bring their information and to have conversations like we're having, more conversations like we're having. I have a podcast I'm starting back up. You and I have done some of them before.
Let's
Consciousness
go.
over
Let's
coffee.
grow. Consciousness over Coffee. You can find it on youtransform.com or You Transformed on YouTube. And then now Jon Hodge Spirit, JONHODGE Spirit on YouTube, on TikTok.
Yeah, and the new podcast is going to be breaking this down quite a bit. We're going to be talking about some of these things, probably bringing some of these channelings, not only my own or these communications I'm having, and breaking these communications down in a way and having some discussions about them, just like we're talking here, and breaking this down to a little bit more understandable level, and bring as much clarity as we can to what's going on, and for everybody to get a better grasp for what these communications are. I mean, this is not an entertainment system or anything like that. It's information. It's information and connection. You know, it can
you
look
say it's
like
not an entertainment system, but yet it is absolutely an entertainment system. It's inclusive of entertainment.
Well, it can seem it is entertaining, okay, to hear this and see this, but you know, there's such great wisdom and such great value in what's being said by these entities that, you know, and they are very logical, and they are, some of the information can be kind of hard to grasp and break down. So we're going to talk about that and break some of that down and kind of bring it into a perspective of how can I use this?
Love it.
Because we can talk about all these things, but people who are just waking up and they look at this and they're going to go, what? You know, it's just not.
How do you define waking up?
Waking up is beginning to drop the shield or climb out of the box you've been in, and you're opening yourself up to another knowledge, and sometimes this other knowledge is not comfortable because it's not where you've been. So a lot of people who are, if you want to call it waking up, or they're moving into another level of spiritual experience or whatever it is, it can be confusing and it can be uncomfortable in the beginning, just because it's not where we've been.
Right. So it's, instead of being like a laser focused on this is the only path, the only understanding, the only way of ascending or becoming more pure, more heart connected, it's opening up that aperture. And so that's the definition of waking up, would be that it's almost like the eyes are opening. So instead of it just being a one focused thing, it's now being open to more, and then feeling into what's actually accurate and supportive for each person.
Yeah. Like I said, the way I like to talk about it the most is either the box has got a crack and they're looking through the crack, or that, you know, they're looking over the edge of the box now. Something has happened. A big noise has happened. And they're looking over the box and they go,
what?
And there's a lot of that going on right now. And there's going to be a whole bunch more of it in the coming year and beyond, as we transition from where we were into a new experience.
100%. And listener, just so you know, you don't need to go to anybody else. There's no outside authority for you to have connection to the all. By definition, by being alive, that means you are a part of life, a part of the all. And just like the internet, it can exist this whole time, but unless I have the information and the ability to connect, starting out with dial up, and I got to call in, Terra, Solar, Sunny, Bashar.
Yeah, and we do have a Bashar connection coming up. I think it's this Wednesday night, 7 p.m. meetup.
Awesome. What's the date on that?
Uh, what is Wednesday? You're asking the wrong person to look for a date.
Well, the podcast might not be out by then.
Wednesday is the 29th.
29th of November.
November at 7 p.m.
Okay, I'm going to put a clip here. There we go. We'll share the clip because the podcast will probably release, shortly after that.
Yeah, so that'll be I believe that's a Bashar connection. And there are others, all of them are off the chart for me anyway. They're all also knowledgeable and, such powerful entities.
Can you list the main connections that you have right now?
Bashar Hussaini, Adronis, who is a human Syrian, Anelix, who is a blue Syrian. They're both from Sirius star system, but different locations there. And there is Ariel, Pleiadian, and Elysia, who is a Venusian. And yes, folks, there are souls on Venus and some of the other planets in our system.
Well, and one way to wrap the head around it, like the physical mind, would be just to feel into all the frequencies exist on the radio. And if we have an analog radio and we're rolling through the dial, I can only hear what I'm tuned into. So if everything is energy and vibration, then I would need to be tuned in or have perceivers, such as our eyes, that have just a certain amount of bandwidth that they can see. And so if an entity is at a higher, at a bandwidth that's outside of, or at a frequency that's outside of my range, I literally could not see it. So as I hear you describing this, it's not like, hey, there's other 3D people that are the same density, the same form, but they're very easily, but they're very easily could be, if they're operating at a higher level of energy, then they just wouldn't be perceivable unless one can actually expand the consciousness to the point where they can actually perceive it and connect.
Yes, that's very accurate. It's frequency based. We're a frequency and they're a frequency, and we can only see a certain band. And most of these entities are beyond that band right now. The band
are they coming down, or are we coming up?
We're going up. So that's where all this is headed. And you will see more and more UAP or UFO activity. You're going to see more anomalies around you and in the sky, as what they call the veil, or whatever you want to call it. The veil is actually, we're raising our frequency. So we're beginning to be able to perceive at a different level. And some of these beings are just outside of where we have been perceiving. Some people see them because they've raised their frequency high enough to do that. All of us humans have the ability to raise our frequency or really connect with any frequency. We have all the DNA that's required to do that. That's another reason there's so much interest here, is they have tinkered with us and put so many different DNAs in us that we can light up and connect with many different civilizations.
And then let's bring it back to 3D humans. Remember, if we can connect to any entity or any energy, that means we can connect to any person.
That's right.
Any being, period. So if I'm stuck in my small I and my preferences, desiring for somebody to be different than they are, instead of being there in true presence, true unconditional love, which means without condition, absent of conditions. You don't need to be any different than you are for me to show up in love, which is ultimately connection. Yeah. Love is the connective tissue of the cosmos.
Yeah, so we're sharing with each other. Another big part of our retreats is actually really connecting with each other in a deep state of love, in a deep in that deep connection, like we were talking about earlier in the podcast, where if I speak to you, I look you straight in the eyes, I'm sending that love at the same time. I'm speaking or connecting with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, brother, this has been absolutely awesome. Thank you, listener, for coming along this entire journey and being here and being present. Um, Joda, where can people connect with you best right now?
Best way to get a hold of me is you can email me at john@utransform.com or visit
That's
utransform.com.
JON.
JON. And visit us at utransform.com. We have an amazing website with all kinds of information. You can find me on YouTube, Jon Hodge Spirit. You can find me on Twitter, X, TikTok, and in spirit.
And in
Call me up.
spirit.
I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, tickets are on sale for Galactic Oneness. It is in
Yeah.
Richardson, which is essentially Dallas, Texas. A beautiful, what is it, a 50-acre property, 30
Yeah,
acre?
it's an amazing retreat center. It's such a heart centered. There's a beautiful little lake right behind the retreat center we're in, and I don't know, the vibration there is just every time we go there, it's just there's been so much love there at that place.
Yes.
It's incredible.
We've had hundreds of people over the course of probably, what, 7, 8 of those retreats have been held there in the last
Yeah,
2.5 years, just since I've known you.
yeah,
It's
it's
super
been amazing, and
fantastic.
this is going to be an amazing experience. We are going to connect with the Galactics, but we're also going to work on ourselves, all of us. We're going to be doing a lot of deep meditational work. We're going to work on releasing and helping each other to release the things that are in us, and get a much greater understanding of who we are and how we can move and improve ourselves in whatever way it is.
In
So
every way.
yeah,
One
in
thing
every
helps
way.
everything.
That's right. And this is just a new and unique experience for us as well as you. And I'm looking forward to it. And so are the Galactics, by the way, because they talk
Yes.
about it every day.
I'm curious, what if some of the attendees have their own galactic connections? Are you open to making more of a roundtable environment if they show up?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. We're always open
Sweet.
yeah, bring the love, bring it all.
Yes. Bring the love, bring it all. All right,
Yeah.
utransform.com. You can use the promo code Tyler on some stuff. It'll give you a discount if it works. Would love, love, love to see you there at the retreat. I think we have 60 seats available. Is that right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And it's just going to be an incredible, beautiful time. Um, know thyself, right? Number one.
That's
Number
right. Now
two,
let's align
align
and create.
and create. Know, align, create. That is the move. All right, fam. Much love. Thank you for tuning in. And this has been glorious. Tyler the Drake on all channels, tylerdrake.com if you want more information there. And we'll look forward to many more of these, Joda, as we expand and grow. Oh, and you can check out Consciousness Over Coffee. We actually have 10 or 11 episodes out if you want some deep dives over the past year and a half as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Much love, fam. See you soon. Live long and prosper.